here at San Diego, the beach is 12 minutes away. And that is a constant reminder to be like, oh, it's a nice day. Let me go to the beach. Me and Amanda just got back from buying a surfboard. It's like those little things, and it ties in everything kind of what people have said. If you want to be an inner child and buy a surfboard, buy a surfboard. You have your community to go with you to buy the surfboard. So it's letting yourself be happy, and if there's things outside of academia that make you happy, then make sure to be intentional with your time and intentional with when you give yourself breaks.
I mean, it's kind of everyone has pretty much said it, and I think for a strategy that I've incorporated myself is like every morning I have to give like 15 minutes to just like journal, and I'm not a big writer, but that's just become like I'm like either doodling or writing just random words or whatever is just kind of coming to me at that moment. And I have to be like physically moving, so I naturally have a lot of like anxiousness, and so for me, like if I'm not in the gym, if I'm not outside of my dogs, like I will feel it, and I'm just like not plugged into my work. So I've become very intentional. I love that word. With giving myself the same grace and the same like love that everything else and everyone else demands of me. So like at the end of the day, if I'm just like, you know what, like I'm not comfortable doing this extra work or whatever, like again those boundaries, like I'm at capacity. I can't take this on at the moment, and I really have been stepping into honoring myself and loving myself just as much as like I said, that demand of time. And my partner and I thought it was so weird when we started dating, because they're really like they're like a life coach, and then they do all this therapeutic stuff. They're a therapist. And so like one time they gave me like when we started dating, they would give me Google Calendar invites for our dates. And I thought it was so like informal, and I was just like, why are you sending me like a Google Calendar invite for a date? But now I so appreciate it, because I know that is like a specific intentional time that we are like unplugging from everything. So yeah, I would say schedule yourself time to love and to just give whatever it is, outside of the books. Yeah.
So I definitely do not have it under control. So thank you everyone for sharing your strategies, because they're definitely helpful and I'm going to implement those. But one thing that's been shared with me by an older grad student that I found really helpful is that like rank your tasks. So I spiral a lot and I have pretty bad anxiety and I don't have a lot of things under control. But I think what's important is like when you're ranking your tasks that you have, like rank them in terms of priority. And there's this question that I was also, who can you ignore without it backfiring on you? So if you have a deadline and you're like, well, if I like get back to them like maybe a day late, will they really get that mad at me? So like really like you can break it in that way. And I've been doing that last quarter and it's been so helpful. So like you obviously probably don't want to ignore your primary advisor, but if you're like a TA and you have a ton of grading to do and like you're really exhausted, you can kind of extend that grading schedule. Let the students know they'll get their grades back in like a few days, but always be willing to like extend stuff for yourself. And don't feel bad about canceling meetings. Like I've like the past quarter, like I've canceled quite a few meetings, and at first I feel pretty bad about it, but everyone's always so understanding. And when someone cancels a meeting that I'm supposed to be in, I'm like super happy about it. So I'm like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. It works out great. So don't feel bad about canceling meetings, and take breaks. Again, I think ranking has really helped me, and then throw away the idea of like perfection in your tasks. Like not everything has to be perfect, and you're not in this journey alone, so that you can always receive feedback from somebody. So you don't have to wait until like, whatever you're working on is like this perfect draft or thing. Drafts are meant to be drafts. You're supposed to like edit them. The first draft isn't going to be exactly what you want. Um, and yeah, and then someone told me also to under promise and over deliver. So for example, if you have something like, a presentation that you could probably do in like a week, give yourself 2 weeks and tell that person, hey, I'll get this to you in 2 weeks. And then a week passes by and you're done with it. Let them know like, hey, I finished this early, whatever, like, you over deliver. That's great. But if there's a time where you're like, wow, I really need that extra week, you can use that time without having that person, like that expectation on you, like, oh man, they really want me to finish this within this week. So under promise and over deliver, ranks your deadlines, and cancel meetings when you feel like it. That's my advice.
I just want to echo on that. Don't be scared to ask for uh, extensions. Yeah, cancel meetings, like stuff like that. Your mental health comes first, and especially during the pandemic, like if you're not doing well, like you know. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid. The worst that they can say is no, and you don't lose anything from that.
Is there anyone else who would like to answer that question who hasn't already? All right. I think you guys touched on a lot of this question already, but if anyone hasn't and you would like to give maybe any specific tips or just kind of your own experiences with this, but how do you advocate for yourself and your needs in grad school, and what has been your experience doing so?
I think Jose, I mean, for what Jose just mentioned, I mean, for me has been super successful in just saying, you know, communicating my needs, like in any relationship, anything that you need. I mean, people can't read your mind. And I know sometimes it's hard. I mean, specifically, I mean, I don't want to make a general assumption, but a lot of times I can probably say that a lot of us on this call maybe don't feel comfortable communicating our needs because it's something that we have maybe not been taught, or that it's been okay to advocate for ourselves, or whatnot. So really just kind of pushing that discomfort and saying, you know what, I need this extra day, or you know, like I love that, giving, you know, 1 week, you know, if you over deliver, or what is it called, I totally if I'm botching it, but that idea of like, if it's in early, great, but if you need that extra week, great as well. um I just I'm for myself, I'm really learning to just say no. Like if it doesn't fit well with my spirit, if I know that I'm not really going to give it 100%, I'm going to say no. And like Jose mentioned, like I mean, the worst that can happen if you're asking for this, they're just going to say no. We really can't accommodate that. But I will say 90% of the time that I've needed some type of accommodation, or an extension or whatever, um, my professors have been like, oh, like it's almost like they're like so thrown off that I'm asking for this, and they're like, oh, whatever you need, you know. They're super accommodating, but I think it's just getting out of our own way to communicate our needs, and that we're worthy of that communicating those needs, because you know no one else is going to do it for us.
I love that, getting out of our own way. Yes. The way that I advocate for myself now at this point of, I don't know, what quarter, spring quarter, is absolutely, I feel like a completely different person than when I first came in. I was scared to like step on anything. I would do exactly what I was told. And like, I don't know, it was like, I was so scared of asking for more. Like, this is what I need from you. In my program, it's like we have a boss that would be like our advisor for like the rest of our PhD program. And I was so scared of like asking them specifically, like, this is what I need from you if you were going to be my advisor. And then I turned into, I want to work in your lab. Here's a PowerPoint of all my needs before I even step in, so you know what I'm coming in and asking and expecting of you. And like, no, like for me to get there, like no one told me I could do that. It was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm tired of like being annoyed that my boss isn't doing what I need. And maybe if I just told him up front, it is kind of like, I don't know, it feels like dating, kind of like, I don't know, like just communicate. And like most of the time things are fine. Nothing terrible is going to happen. They're not going to kick you out of the program for most things. Like just be very clear about, this is what I need from you, and they're probably going to be like, okay, let's see what we can do about it. And then like, I don't know, you go from there. But yeah, don't be scared to push for yourself, because no one else is going to advocate for yourself the way you would. Like they don't know what you're going through. They don't know what's going on when you leave those doors. Like only you know what your limit is, and like you don't want to mess up knowing what your limit is too many times. You know, like you want to just maybe stumble over that once and then learn from that. And yeah.
I think I also want to add on to this. Yes, definitely like advocate for yourself to your professors, to your advisor. Like everyone in grad school, but don't be scared to also like set boundaries or advocate for yourself with family members, because there are times where they want to talk and I'm okay to talk, but I need time to do work. And yeah, like don't be scared, because like everyone said, like only you know what you're going through and what you need.
I think especially during this Zoom time, it's like communication is like at the floor. Like there's just no way to like really be communicating. Like even in person, you know, there's so many things that aren't communicated. But I had this experience with a postdoc in my lab who like just had no idea. Like I thought I was giving all these like subtle signals on Slack that I was like so overwhelmed. But of course, like how is she supposed to know? And you know, finally, just the second you're vulnerable and the second that you actually can like voice these things and voice what's going on in your life, then they're always like I've yet to hear about a situation where they weren't receptive to that. So
Yeah, I kind of want to speak on slightly different advocacy. So, like Amanda said, in our program, we have an advisor. We call him or her a PI. And I came in with kind of questions as to how would you help me advocate for myself when we go above your head kind of thing. Like if I need someone to up manage and make my voice louder for me, will you do it? And kind of going in with this precedence, it makes them think. He was kind of like, what do you mean? Of course I will. But then it made that advisor think, oh, wait, not everyone will. So I think it put it in their mind being like, I should be intentional about the type of mentor I want to be and do it before someone asks for it of me. So yeah.
Any last responses? All right, we can move on to the last question that we have prepared at least, and that is, what are some tips and advice you have for prospective or incoming graduate school students?
I can start. I would just say do your research. If you have a network of people that you know maybe are already attending these programs, reach out to them, um, and give yourself options. Like you know, the more you look into other programs, the more you have conversations. I mean, a lot of times, at least in my experience, you can actually go through like an intake kind of mock department, not interview, but they'll give you like a little bit of information to kind of talk with someone like there and just kind of, you know, bounce ideas back. But yeah, I would say, you know, you don't need to have all the answers before going into grad school. Like, you know, if I wanted to be a teacher, I have to go to this school. You know, I think it's based on context and our experiences are different. But I would just say I would vet. Like, you know, they want you. You know, like we have options to vet different schools. So at the end of the day, I mean, you know, like go into it that way. Like, you know, the school has to want you and they're fighting for you. And I feel like if you change your mentality that way, you'll be more you'll stand in your power more and you'll feel more comfortable having those conversations with like what can your program provide me, not what do I need to do to get in, you know? So to like change that mindset.
One thing I just remembered that I did was I made sure, like, if let's say that if you're applying to like multiple schools and you get into multiple schools, when they give you that financial aid package or whatever,
Absolutely iconic. I think another thing I would recommend people who are thinking of applying places, do your research. Also, contact grad students at the schools you are going to. The biggest thing for me in deciding where to go is like I wanted to be happy for the next 5 years. So I was calling people, and like if you email people and be like, hey, I'm thinking of applying here, can I talk to you? They'll probably reply. I sat on the phone with some girl for an hour of a school I didn't even end up applying to, but like it was a great phone call. I knew what I figured out what I wanted to know. So like don't be scared to reach out to grad students about that. And I forgot what my second point was. Oh, also, it doesn't matter the name of your school if you're not going to be happy. You can go to Harvard and be a terrible, miserable person and hate your life, and that's not going to make you a good student. So I don't know. I think that was something like dismantling the classism and all that took me a little bit, but like once I pulled out of that mindset and I was like, okay, I just have to go be a good student and like be in a place that makes me happy. Like I think I was way better off after that process.
I think it was Laura. Sorry if I'm saying the wrong name. That put it in the chat, but have a constellation of mentors. That's something someone said at a panel as well, but it's on the lines of what she said. So you want to build several networks of mentors. It doesn't have to be specifically for your thesis. It can be someone that you just have a shared experience with, and they're at a higher level, so they're able to advise you on things that you might have questions about. Also, one big piece of advice that I have, and it goes back to what Ugbad was saying about stumbling. It's okay to stumble, and don't be afraid of the words, I don't know. I say it all the time.
I'll just go ahead and be like, yeah, I threw that in the chat. It's so important. Also, the comment that I think Marco said about the negotiation, I found some like professor at some university that didn't apply to that like became my mentor just for that reason. Like he helped me negotiate and channel like white male energy that I did not have in negotiations. So you can really identify mentors like for the long term, people that will be there for you for multiple years along different parts of your journey, or identify people that like are very good at one specific thing and they can help you with that. So it's really useful to have like that depth and breadth of different types of mentors.
And I'd like to add something about like the application process to grad school or maybe for a fellowship or something. Like that process, whatever you're doing, is really hard. There's lots of components that go into it. So really the only thing that you really can do is just be proud of what you turn in, put your best effort, make sure that it represents you and your interests fully. And once you submit it, then that's all you can do. And then the rest is out of your hands. And just be really, really proud of what you put in, because it's a lot of hard work that you just laid out there.
Also on the application process, if you're able to get a free app, send in the free app applications. They're there. They'll get back to you most likely. If you qualify, you'll get it. It saves you hundreds of dollars, maybe even thousands, depending on how much you apply to. And also the GRE. The free app is it's just like I think all schools actually offer, basically they get rid of application waivers. I just couldn't put words to it. Also GRE, if you qualify, get half off. Right, yeah, you don't have to pay to apply. But for the GRE, there's like also a fee waiver, or kind of. You get half off if you apply to it. And there are actually programs, depending on what undergrad you go to, that will pay for your GRE. So look into that, especially if you're first generation and stuff like that.
And along those lines, sorry, I know I just spoke, but some schools, if you're applying in STEM, don't even require the GRE sometimes. So check. That is money that we sometimes don't have. So catch your coin.
Yeah, for applications, like put as many eyes on your essays as possible. Like I think it's really great to just like get a diversity of like kind of opinions about it. And it's up to you to kind of take the advice wherever it is. But this can come from these people that that are mentors that people are talking about. It could come from people that are closer to you, friends. You're trying to show who you are, and anyone can really be like helpful to that, to some aspects that you might not even be aware of, that you can explain yourself. And also, yeah, to plug, there are like some like kind of graduate mentor programs. I'm a part of another one called Colors of the Brain. I think it's through UCSD. Yeah, so there usually those things should be available, and we're just trying to right now we just got funding, and there's money opportunities as well for like getting like a summer and getting that like research experience. So it's not just like reviewing applications, but there's always people that I hope will be there to read your apps, and it's really useful.
I want to echo everything that has been said already, but also basically talk to people, to anyone. People are willing to talk about their experiences sometimes, especially faculty too. Sometimes people just want to talk. They're there, they'll tell you all about it. And some questions to think about is ask them how they got to where they are, especially if you see someone who has the ideal career that you want. Ask about their CV and ask what didn't make it to their CV, right? Like what else did they do that's not on there? And grad school apps themselves are pretty difficult, and grad school interviews are as well, but I think it's important to know there are going to be people who are going to support you as well and uplift you and keep you accountable. And while you're going through the grad school application or interviews, there's going to be people who are going to question you being there, your reasons, basically your existence. And it's really difficult to hear those people sometimes. And at the end of the day, those questions are a reflection of them and not you. And it's really difficult to not take that personally. But I really recommend try getting into the practice of not taking things personally, especially because you will hear a lot of things in academia that feel so left field, but some people, they just cannot fathom, how did you make it here? How did you go through all these things and you're still here? And so they question it in a really harmful way. But again, that's not a reflection of you as a person, that's of them. So that's my 2 cents that I wanted to know.
Are there any last things that anyone wants to say before we wrap up? Also, attendees, if there's any last questions you want to ask our panelists before we have to say goodbye, please drop them in the chat. Yeah, I can hand it over to Lucy to wrap us up.
Yes, hello. Thank you everyone for your amazing responses and your engagement. I feel like I felt like this was such a healing space in a way. I'm really glad that you all were here and were able to be part of this. And I know that I feel like you made me reconsider grad school, because I was I'm not gonna go, and then I'm maybe I can navigate it. So yeah, that's your impact. So thank you all for that. So just some final announcements we have, mainly for the participants. Seppi is going to put the links to these forms in the chat, but please fill out the mandatory tracking form. It is also a requirement to be eligible for our giveaways, so that please fill it out. And also we have an optional form that is just a program evaluation form. Yeah, we would just like to hear your insight and your input and feedback about this program, so that we can take it and improve it in the future. And just as a reminder, our final program for this series is this upcoming Wednesday from 5:30 to 6 p.m. It will be a mixer with graduate students, so you can network and start to cultivate those networks, which is something that a lot of folks here have emphasized. And also keep an eye out for an email after the series ends with more information about our scholarship, as well as the eligibility requirements for the different giveaways, and all of that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Are there any last questions or comments from everybody? Oh, also, Seppi, is the link in the chat? I do not see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Again.
Why do I not see it? That's so weird. Okay, but anyways, yeah, thank you. Thank you all for sharing and being vulnerable. Yes, I retweet that. But yeah, any last questions? Oh, okay. No worries, Nikki. you can just put like NA and like the school that you do attend and like the fields that ask about it. That is
PID is also, you can put NA because that's a UCSD thing, and for email you can just put any email that you use.
yeah, ideally your school email actually. Oh my gosh, yes, the podcast. And people are dropping emails in the chat. So feel free. And we can also save the chat afterwards and share this out with participants. But yeah.
Panelists, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, like I learned a lot too just being here. So you guys are very much appreciated. Also, thank you to participants for showing up and learning with us as well. Also, our ASL interpreters, thank you guys so much for being here. You guys are also appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of it for our program. So y'all are free to go or stay. We can wrap things up too. But yeah, thank you guys.
Have a great day, everyone.
Adios.
You too.